The last 18 months have done to digital-first businesses what VMF has done to MarTech in the region. It accelerated growth. To dive deep into this topic further, we have an interesting panel here on digital-first leaders and the winning strategies to unlock growth and empower business. I would like to invite our panelists on stage. Our first panelist is Wasim Sayek. He's the head of product marketing at TikTok. With over 2 decades of experience in marketing and tech, Wasim brings a wealth of experience from the world's leading tech powerhouses, from Google to ByteDance. He demonstrates a portfolio that is a statement to his global and regional leadership skills. Please welcome on stage Wasim. Thank you. He's the VP of Growth at Rain with 12 years of experience in digital world. Haris has worked as an entrepreneur and across leading e-commerce, startups, and ride-hailing businesses to make remarkable contributions towards growth. Staying updated with the dynamic digital world with strong analytical ability and skills, it has helped him become an industry leader and expert. Please welcome Haris Khan. And our next panelist is Guel Rodriguez. He's the AVP Customer Experience and Design Lead at Pay It by FAB with over 12 years of experience in a variety of businesses. Guel focuses his time on customer experience and service design activities by Pay It Wallet, the UAE's first fully featured digital wallet by FAB. And our last panelist, and not least, is Karen Cordeiro, Head of Marketing B2B at Entertainer. Karen has over 13 years of experience in various industries, including consumer loyalty, FMCG, professional services, and retail. She's an expert in creation of communication strategy using analytics to shift consumer behavior to drive acquisition, retention, and engagement. And to moderate this amazing panel, I invite on stage Jay Dalvey, Director of Sales, META at CleverTap. With over 10 years of experience in the IT industry, Jay works closely with hundreds of brands to set up and scale their mobile marketing platforms in the region. So over to you, Jane, and enjoy the great panel.
Lovely. Thank you so much, guys. Really excited to be in a 200 people conference, to be honest. Thanks a lot for taking the time. Such a pleasure to host all of you. Before we get started, I'd love for just all of us to spend a couple of minutes talking about what we do. Yeah, why don't we start with you, Karen?
Sure, thank you. Well, that's loud. So I obviously, as you know, work for Entertainer. I lead the B2B marketing team. And what we do is work with clients really on building either loyalty programs or a version of the Entertainer app, which I hope you all are familiar with. And I help drive retention, acquisition, and engagement strategies.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the fancy microphone, so everybody got the hand one. Yeah, okay. There we go. So my name is Gil. Well, my name is Guilherme, but I use Gil because it's just like, it sounds like a password. So I look after, it's long and complicated, right? So I look after customer experience and design for Pay It. Pay It is a digital wallet powered by First Abu Dhabi Bank. So technically, I'm a banker with no tie, but yeah, this is pretty much what we do. So we do remittance, we touch on money, we send money here and there. And my role is really, I'm a UX guy actually, and then I'm kind of having fun now on the customer experience, talking to customer, and talking to the call center, and then doing some design. So it's pretty much how I spend my day and Pay It. Yeah.
Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Haris Khan. I work for a company called Rain. It's one of the largest crypto trading platform for Middle East. I'm leading up on the growth initiatives, whether it's through the paid channels, whether it's organic. Yeah, so it's quite exciting because this whole crypto topic is like quite new to this region, and it's really fueling up on the growth. So yeah, I think on the growth side, we tend to work very closely with the CX and product and marketing departments as well. So yeah, so really excited to discuss on other growth topics today. Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see.
Let me introduce myself. Wasim Sayer, heading up product strategy and operations at TikTok. So we're the team that's responsible for taking advertising products that our HQ team develops and bringing them to market in the Middle East region.
Great, short and sweet. Perfect. So thanks a lot again for joining. One of the things we're obviously going to cover as a part of the presentation was part of the panel was growth. And growth really to me in my current role working with so many brands is two parts. There's obviously a large focus on acquisition, right? Which I think is the first pillar for growth. And increasingly, at least in the last, let's say, a couple of years, there's been increasing investments across brands in retention as a whole nother function, right? We've seen digital marketing managers, we've seen marketing roles focused towards acquisition, right? The best of Google AdWords, Facebook, and so on. But not so much recent in the recent past. We've also seen roles which are specifically focused on retention, right? Retention management or just life cycle management of customers and just focused roles on increasing LTV, for example. I want to start with you, Wasim. We're going to try and discuss both aspects of growth, acquisition and retention. And of course, I think with the pandemic, I mean, one of the things I've spent my time on is TikTok. Which is great. I mean, I find myself just in a loophole, to be honest. I open that app and it's suddenly 30 minutes. So I want to know, there's of course a big shift.
You're actually below our average.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
There's room for improvement there, but go ahead.
Damn. Okay. That's, I mean, people spend more than 30 minutes. Great. Maybe I'm spending more and I just don't know.
It's quality.
I want to know, look, there's obviously a big shift in consumer behavior with TikTok. And I especially discovered TikTok during the course of the pandemic and I've been spending more time. I'm very curious to know, from an acquisition standpoint, how are brands looking at TikTok, number one? And over the course of us now, hopefully coming out of the whole wave, how's that changed? For example, I want to seed you in with the thought of travel, right? Travel must have been a significant travel brands must be a significant part of their acquisition strategy being TikTok, right? Has that changed? And just your thoughts.
Sure thing. So let me take that first part of the question. In terms of how brands are using TikTok, what you will find is that we're a full marketing solution, full funnel marketing solution. So brands are going in pretty heavy across the funnel, whether it's building that brand awareness, whether it's with our different products, whether it's top view, #challenge, building out that consideration phase with our different products, whether that's DPA or lead gen, and then all the way down to bottom of the funnel, whether that's app installed and so on and so forth. So in terms of marketeers, pretty interesting how they're using our advertising products to go across the funnel and building their marketing strategies on TikTok. Obviously, in addition to that, you have the content side, and what we're seeing is that more and more brands are getting TikTok. They're understanding how to utilize the platform.
Yeah.
And the bigger question, your user there, are you creating content? You are creating content?
You know, once in a while a birthday message or maybe a trend.
And what we're
I wouldn't say I'm a content creator.
And a lot of people are maybe passive users, but what we're finding as well is that brands are creating their presence on TikTok.
Yeah.
They're starting to understand the platform, how to create that community around their brand, how to create videos that are organic in nature to our platform, and then are going in and sharing that content with the rest of the world with our Spark ads.
Nice.
And more brands are getting on the platform because from what you see is that there's that learning curve I think a lot of advertisers fall into the steps of thinking we're a social platform and creating content in the same way as you would create for
For
other
Facebook.
platforms.
Yeah, of
And it
course.
takes a while for users and brands to really absorb the power of TikTok and then for them to create content that is native for the platform. We're seeing that more and more. So that answers your
I
first bit
think
of
I have a
question.
follow-up.
Yeah.
Content plays obviously a big part of how
100%.
successful this is going to be, right? It can be
Yes.
100 installs for a really bad plug,
Yes.
and it can be millions of installs for really good content. Are brands overtly involved, especially when working with influencers, when creating content? Are brands guiding what can be said or what cannot be said, etc.?
So brands are in control in a sense where you could actually work with creators. And what we find is that creators help you bridge that platform knowledge.
Of course.
So instead of you going in and trying to better understand what's a good creative, what works, what doesn't work, and so on and so forth, we actually have a marketplace where you could go to creators. It's called TikTok Creator Marketplace.
Nice.
We could go to creators and ask them to create content for you. And
Great.
then you're working with somebody that already understands and knows the platform. So there's no need for you to upskill yourself. You're already sitting there with the creator. And obviously, with the creator, you're defining the parameters as well. So this is what I need in terms of content. This is the message. You could literally define what the creative strategy is, or tell the creator to work on whatever creative strategy they want, or define the parameters that you want to work with. But what we find is that the creators really understand what works and what doesn't work with our audience.
I believe so. I mean, I think the only reason TikTok is successful is because of just so much creativity in the content, and there should definitely be some
100%. So it's a
trust.
creative platform
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
absolutely.
right?
Perfect.
It's a creative video platform.
Nice. Thanks a lot. I think my next question is for Harris. Crypto has finally arrived. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure some of them in the room have bought or have interacted about TikTok, crypto in general.
Mhm.
We're seeing real world use cases with blockchain or just cryptocurrency in general. Although over the course of just so much news around crypto in general, adoption to crypto, at least a wide stream adoption to crypto, I think is still a big problem due to just regulations, right? Different countries, different regulations.
Yeah.
It's a massive inhibitor for sort of mass market of crypto really going mass. What are your thoughts about that? Having being a part of something like Rain, what do you think
Sure.
is the future?
Yeah. So I think on the cryptocurrencies, I think it's quite amazing to really see. I mean, how people are opting for it. I think it's kind of a topic which is basically not ignorable, I would say, at this point in time. That I strongly believe that if you just stop anyone and just ask that question, if they heard about cryptocurrency or virtual currency, they will say yes. But again, the understanding of that concept or the ideologies varies from person to person. Now, if you just go back like 15 years back, in markets like Asia and Africa, where companies like Rocket Internet, they tried to launch e-commerce or ride-hail platforms. At that time, they guys really have to skew the market. They have to create a concept that there's something called online shopping, and that is something that you can do through an app or website. Now, fast forward 15 years, in GCC, you will see that some of the crypto platforms that are regulated by the local governments, one of the biggest thing for their growth so far is basically just the presence of the time that they are operating for the last couple of years. They don't have to create this understanding or awareness that there's a thing called cryptocurrency and you can invest in that. People are basically looking for these platforms to invest. So that is basically one of the things that make the challenge relatively easy. But again, there's still a lot of challenges against all the odds.
I want to focus just to follow up on acquisition specifically. it's very different from how a typical e-commerce would acquire users, or
Yeah.
a bank would acquire users, or so on. Because to be honest, most people don't know about
Yeah,
crypto in at least to the
absolutely.
depth
It's
to
different.
bet their money on it. How's that acquisition journey been?
So this acquisition funnel, for example, if you talk about Ride Hail, so their average, install to, for example, their first transaction time is 2 days. But if you talk about crypto, the whole sign up, the KYC, which is know your customer process, it stretches up to a number of days. And before you actually have someone really knows you, you really have to educate that person. So I think education is a big piece in this crypto platform growth, that you really have to educate the potential customers who really wanted to invest in terms of how to buy, how to sell, what exactly is crypto, what are the practical implications on that. And that actually becomes one of the strongest lever for this industry to really educate the customers.
Nice. And one last thing, um, being in the space, of course, and being the leader for one of the biggest crypto brands here, what's the next 6 months looks like, and how do you think the ecosystem will play out? I'm sure you've heard of so many players, international and national players, coming into the market offering the same service. What do you think is going to happen?
I think because what we have noticed that some of the international players like Capital, Binance, eToro, they have started to eye this region now because they see a big potential in this region. But I think the biggest strength that probably local players have is basically regulated by local governments. That's one, which international players doesn't have. And I think even their acquisition strategy, they have to localize it. So I'm quite sure that no one would probably find any article written in Arabic language on cryptocurrency. Like 99.9% are primarily in English. So that is basically, so it's coupled up with localization plus education. So you have to educate the region in their local language, which they really understand. That is again, that definitely one of the pillars that we are relying on.
Nice. Great. How many of you have even tried to invest in crypto? Just a show of hands.
I saw
It's a lot
just
of
yeah, a
market
couple of
potential.
them. Yeah.
A lot of market potential.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Interesting. Perfect. We'll go to you, Karen. Of course, everyone, I think UAE, it's especially in UAE, as an entertainer, is pretty much the must-have app. I personally, having moved countries and my base here, pretty much after Kareem and a few others, I think entertainer was the first one I got. Um, I come to think of it, I mean, Entertainer offered a lot of services which had to do with you being on ground or you experiencing them at a retail location and so on. Since the whole shift, how's Entertainer doing and managing to keep sort of customers retained?
Yeah, thanks. A good question. I mean, obviously, last year and this year as well has really disrupted the market. I think being able to be at the forefront of what's going on, really listening to our customers, hearing what they want, and being able to personalize kind of the experiences of the app to them has been key. It's also being agile enough really to make those changes quickly internally to be able to then take that to the app and make either the UX UI changes to kind of help our customers. I think also just in terms of keeping customers engaged and retained, one of the key things I think the Entertainer does really well is personalization of communications to customers. So you're really using data, understanding who those customers are based on demographics, usage, etc., and then tailoring those offers to them to keep them coming back, telling them what's new on the app and so on. So I think those are kind of key for us.
Um, for most of you, Entertainer is really just one app, but Karen interestingly works on the B2B side, which works with so many partners. We were just talking backstage, and I think 50 odd partners already. What's that like? I mean, you have almost a playbook with your main app. How's that like taking into 50 apps now? How's that being managed, and what's your experience? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think that has been really interesting for us because obviously we're working across the different industries, whether it's financial services or telcos or retail and so on. And the customers and consumers are kind of different. They want different things. So for each of our clients, we look at their data as separate. We don't go, okay, this is one person, this is how they deal with the entertainer, and so we should treat them the same way. It's again about personalizing those experiences. For us, we also work with, we develop kind of loyalty programs, bespoke loyalty programs. And that is extremely exciting because of the level of data that you get. They have things like CardLink offers in there, so we know where people are spending, what they like to do, and then really being able to offer rewards based on kind of high value segments and so on. So there is that entire, I think the whole thing is kind of layered by data and personalization, which is not a one size fits all for either a person or for a company. So it needs to be really looked at individually.
Nice, great. And Gail, I think I personally face this challenge. Like I said, I recently moved to the region, and sending money back home is obviously a key part of living the expat life, I guess. Uh, but you know, fundamentally, the big shift in behavior as far as retention for you means people coming back using the app and sending money back home. This really changed, or most of this audience, I'm assuming, moved online when it was no longer feasible to go to a retail location, deposit cash, and have that being sent home. How's that change been? Were you already geared up for it, or was it just right time, right place?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Hello. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Can you see me? Come on. That classical stuff that's happening for us every day, right? Yeah, so the thing about pay it, yeah, but I think that nice that you mentioned about, so this is the major thing that we do. So remittance, send money home. But I think that the difference is that because of the financial inclusion part that we have of taking care of the blue collar section there, so we have a product called Ratibi. It's basically a card, prepaid card. So then these customers, they don't access the Fab mobile directly, and then they use our app. So the nice thing is that we become them like a digital bank for them, and then they can do everything, like they link to their card and stuff. But these guys are like guys and girls, then they are not very much into technology. So then they sort of either learn how to move it within the app, right? So then it's really like shifting that sort of experience that they have going to the exchange to the app, and then not having that human touch. I think it's the kind of challenge that we have. So sometimes the retention part that we were talking about is quite complicated, because then you really have to learn, and they usually rely on other colleagues or other people that either are using the app or so there's a lot of offline sort of interaction between even people that already have the app, or even like if they are in a labor camp, so then the one that is either the owner or looks after them, they kind of help them on doing that, right? Because you know how easy it is. So think about someone that has to take a bus, go like 20 minutes down the road, do the remittance, and then come back. So it's like something that you can now do just on a tap of your phone. So that's some of the challenges that we just we're able to see by watching and observing them. So yeah.
Nice. I remember when we were trying to catch up before the panel. One of the things you're really passionate about is obviously digital inclusion. Do you think the change is very permanent? If I used to go to a retail location before, and now having to have done the whole online thing and then getting used to it for so many months, do you think the shift is permanent? And what's your plan with Fab, especially? Remittance is one, but is there other sort of innovations that you're working on right now?
Yeah, no, key points, Jay. I think, yeah, so everything started with remittance, and it was more about what you can do with the money, right? So it's more of like opening up for retail, so you can, use your money on the shop. We recently launched the cross-border payments, which is basically like if you have a phone number in your country or at home and you want to pay or you want to top up, you can do that. So all the things you can really do with that money that you have on your wallet, apart from the safety of having a controlled environment. Let's say if you have 100 dirhams, you're just going to spend that 100 dirhams. Specifically for these customers, they can also get quick cash, which is something that we want to roll out for, in our segment, we say individuals, which will be me and you. So someone who is not banking with us, so they just have an account. I think this is pretty much it, and maybe we're gonna extend along with Magnati now because it's a new vertical within Fab, which is just a new company focused on payments. What we can do around onboarding and payments around digital or face palm face and all this kind of fancy stuff that are on the plate, but exploring that I think is a lot of funny stuff around that, right? Like there was
Yeah.
if you saw one guy anyway, so yeah, I think that would be a next.
Yeah,
that we will explore, yeah.
that's probably it. Speaking of spending, Harris, my question to you is specifically when it comes to retention. For you, retention is literally people coming and investing real dollars or dirhams in this case, right? It's sometimes also, it can go both ways, especially prompting users to invest more into crypto, right? Obviously, it's sort of a transparent truth that crypto is up and down all the time. What's your sort of communication strategy when it comes to retention?
Yeah, so I think within retention, some of the things which are super important is basically just to really classify a user, whether a user is active, inactive, or churned, for example. In the definition of crypto, you may experience there are certain people who are not trading on your platform for 6 months, but all of a sudden they will probably deposit 200K, for example. So, so that is like a very tricky part. In other businesses, like for example, you can say if someone is not transacting for 30 days, you can consider that a churn customer, for example. But here it's quite tricky. And the key aspect to this retention is basically building up a constant communication which makes sense to them. So for example, you tend to segment your customer base into cohorts, so you understand. So there are people who actually buy when the price go down, and then there are people who actually sell when they just only earn 10%. And then there are people who actually up for long-term investment. So the people who are actually invested on crypto, any kind of stocks, will probably can understand me better. So the kind of a cohort that you have learned based out of their last 10 trades that they will sell whenever there's a 10% profit that they made out of their portfolio, that's where you try to engage with them and just yeah. So I think it's basically just to understand your customers. Not every customer is the same. You have to bucket them into different boxes, and then you have to have a specific customized strategy for each and every bucket.
Nice. One yes or no question. Are people really dollar averaging over time, or are there just a huge amount of people just investing and just pulling out of the market?
So that actually depends on the market conditions. So whenever there's a bull run, so bull run means that the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin prices are going up. And that's where you see a huge improvement in the conversion funnel, because generally there's like a lot of marketing. Everyone is talking about Bitcoin, so people tend to invest. But whenever there's a bear market, which is basically the market going down, the Bitcoin price going down, so people tend to a bit easy. Yeah, so I think it's pretty much dependent on the market dynamics as well.
Nice. Karen, one question I must ask you is, again, if you think about retention across some categories that entertainer offers, retention would be high, right? Like food delivery. I'm sure in some cases there's twice a day or thrice a day for some users. And in some categories like spas or haircuts, for example, the retention could be relatively lower. How do you see, how important is sort of maintain, first of all, I want to understand, do you look at retention per category? That's one. And second, how important is it for you to make sure they're retained not just in one category, but across categories?
Yeah, good question. I wouldn't say that they would have to be kind of using each category because everyone's different. People are going to either use food, or you might want experiences. For example, there's diving on there. Not everyone goes diving, that kind of stuff. We look at more how much are people using, how much are they actually interacting with the app on a daily, weekly basis. If they're not, then that's an issue in whatever category that they are feeling comfortable with. But what we also do, and I spoke to this a bit earlier, is obviously if we know that this particular demographic is interested in, spas or whatever, we would push more offers on that to them. So we would know that, okay, they're more likely to engage with that. I'm not going to send a manicure to someone who's not going to be interested in that.
Got it. Cool. again, coming back to you, I think one super important thing, of course, we talk to marketers all day, and TikTok and just the whole micro influencer sort of comes up so often. I didn't know until about 10 minutes ago when you told me backstage that TikTok also has, for example, live streaming. What's new with on the acquisition side? What can brands expect by continuing partnership with TikTok? What kind of acquisition innovations are you up to?
We're seeing the advent of social commerce right now,
Okay.
and it's slowly happening, but surely happening. And if you take a look at a market like China, what you'll find is that social commerce plays a significant part, especially live e-commerce.
Yeah.
And we're seeing bits and pieces of that starting in the region. But on the acquisition side, something particular for the region before we get into social commerce, and something that's actually quite interesting, that's market specific here, is that people love calling call centers. They love to go in, chat with people, and talk to them. So the acquisition strategy, of what we've noticed that works pretty well here, even though it's simple, yet effective. The traditional sense is I need to get them on my website, have them make the purchase, and then have them exit. But with people liking to chat with people, at least in the region here, what we're seeing is that lead generation becomes really important. And yes, so what we notice is that advertisers are using TikTok in so many different segments of the market, including commerce, where they're presenting the products and asking people to share with them their telephone number. Wow. What's more personal than a telephone number in terms of a lead?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have that person right there talking to somebody on the other end, and I'm sure that person is closing the deal far more than if you don't have an optimized website.
It's like
and let's face it, yes, it's like telesales call. And how often is a website optimized here in the region? You add that plus they like to be on the phone with a live person and they're contacting. It's a basic concept, but that works.
You know, when you said lead, a B2B popped up. Curious whether predominantly B2C apps or businesses go to TikTok, or are you seeing B2B be a real thing?
So most of our advertisers are typically B2C in general. Even in my previous life, usually these type of apps, like your B2B happens on LinkedIn, and everything else is B2C.
I'm going to stream right after, generate some leads for brand. I'm kidding. Thank you so much, guys. Very interesting conversation. I hope you enjoyed. And I'm sure one of you is open to chat after the panel. Find us around. And thank you so much. And see you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Jay, Karen, Wasim, Harris, and Gil. It was a great session and sharing a pool of winning strategies all of the marketing leaders can use. And now it's